New details emerge following the fatal crash that has claimed the life of Grammy-nominated R&B artist Angie Stone.
Have you ever wondered what Angie Stone's final phone call really meant? A legend in R&B, her voice defined a generation, but her last words hinted at something deeper. Just moments before tragedy struck, she said something that left those close to her shaken. What did she know?
New at 4, R&B soul singer Angie Stone has died following a car crash. She was on the way to Atlanta following a performance.
Back then, no one expected Angie Stone's final moments to unfold so suddenly, nor did they suspect her last phone call would hold such chilling weight. Angie was a big name in R&B, and for decades her singing had carried messages of love, strength, and freedom. But she made one last call that upset the people closest to her in the hours before her terrible accident. Right away, stories began to spread. Some said she was scared and driven to Atlanta for reasons she never quite explained. Others say she hinted at a truth she had to tell before it was too late, a weight that hadn't been dealt with. Just what did she say? From her early days as a groundbreaking hip-hop artist, Angie went against the odds to become a soul and R&B icon. She had both big and small wins along the way, from great hits to very personal problems. Her last words have a terrible meaning now that she has died so soon. Was it easy for her to leave, or was she trying to warn us about something? Still, there is one question. What truth did Angie Stone leave behind as we put together her last moments? Hours before Angie Stone's tragic accident, she made a phone call that still lingers in the minds of those who knew her. Not often do people talk like that. It worried me that her voice sounded heavy. People who knew her well said she sounded nervous, as if she was carrying a worry with her. In Mobile, Alabama, she had just left the stage. It was now March 1st, 2025. People at Mardi Gras had screamed as they took in the deep magic she had created. But the mood changed as soon as she left the stage and got into the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van. She was leaving Atlanta, which she had thought of as home for a long time, but this trip seemed different. Some say she called a friend, while others say it was family or her boss. People are still guessing about who she talked to, but what she said has led to a lot of speculation. It wasn't a casual conversation. There was stress and a strong feeling that something was wrong. She kept going back and forth about an unsolved problem that needed to be looked at. Her voice had the weight of someone who wanted to say something important, but wasn't sure if she would get the chance. She talked about urgent matters and choices that had to be made right away. She looked like she knew time was running out, but she couldn't say why. Then came the moment that shook the call receiver. A few simple but creepy words said with the kind of weight that makes sense only now. When disaster struck, a line had a very different meaning. They had no idea that this was their last trip together as they sped across the dark Alabama highway. Fate stepped in with all its might somewhere along the road, but just hours later, the unthinkable happened. A deadly crash, a shattered van, and a world left searching for answers. In the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, Angie Stone and her team were going to Atlanta. The road ahead of them was dark and quiet, and it went on forever. The plan was for it to be a normal trip, a quick drive after a great Mardi Gras show in Mobile, Alabama. But at 4:25 a.m., everything changed. The van lost control quickly on Interstate 65 near Montgomery, Alabama. In the blink of an eye, it went off the road, flipped over, and moved across the highway. Before the people could even realize what was going on, a Freightliner Cascadia semi-truck slammed into the wreckage with a lot of force. Broken glass and bent metal were all over the road after the accident. When Angie Stone died, no one was sure. The other people got out alive, even though some were hurt. For Angie, though, this was the sad end of a path that had seemed to go on forever. In the music business, they lost a legend, and her death sent shockwaves of shock through the company. When the cops arrived quickly, they tried to figure out what had gone so badly wrong. Official reports said it was a terrible accident, but questions started to spread almost right away. Due to the late-night trip, some people thought that the driver's tiredness may have played a role. Others had doubts about the van's technical state. Could it really be driven? Some people pointed to the road and asked why they had picked that stretch of route at that time. If Angie had thought something was wrong before they left, was this crash really just a coincidence? As soon as friends and family heard about her death, they were shocked and sad. Some fans didn't believe that the woman whose songs had helped them get through hard times in life was really gone. Others had a hard time believing it. People all over the world shared notes about her that were full of pain, shock, and many memorials. Shaken were also famous artists, business people, and longtime partners. Angie was praised as a leader, mentor, and lady in emotional posts by Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, and many others. She had paved the way for future generations of artists. Even younger artists who had never met her directly were affected by her death. She had made music in ways that could not be explained by measurements. Even when awards came in, questions wouldn't go away. The details surrounding Angie's final hours still didn't sit right. Had she sensed the danger ahead? Just hours before the accident, Angie had hinted at something troubling, something she desperately needed to resolve. Was she running out of time? In the days before her terrible accident, Angie Stone seemed different in some way. People who knew her well said she seemed less friendly and more antsy than usual. She felt like something was coming up behind her, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Had she seen any warning signs before it hit? She had been working hard on something important. Angie talked about a big change in her career, a new project that would take her in a very different direction, just a few days before she died. But just what was it? Some people thought she was about to explain something shocking, something she had been hiding, that could have changed everything. Some people thought she was finally ready to talk about the problems she had been having in private. Also, there were the questions that she hadn't been able to answer for years. Angie has been through everything: broken relationships, court issues, and public crises. She always fought to get ahead, but some wounds were never fully fixed. To make things right, get in touch with someone, or finally clear the air. Was she sure that Atlanta was where everything needed to happen? After the disaster, fans started looking for clues. They showed her most recent social media posts because they were looking for secret messages. They looked at her most recent talks and broke down every word. Even though she wrote these songs a long time ago, they started to have new meanings after the disaster. Some people thought she had left clues that she knew something was wrong. Some people were sure that her quick need to leave Mobile wasn't an accident. Even though her last touch was already strange, the unease, unfinished business, and sense of urgency make it seem like more than just a sad accident. Was she always letting us know? Had she felt like time was sailing by and she couldn't stop it? If this was just an accident, why does everything surrounding it feel so wrong? The deeper you look, the darker it gets. Before she became a huge R&B star, Angie Stone was just a kid with a voice and a dream. She was born in Columbia, South Carolina, and the sounds of church music moved her deeply as a child. Her father, who was a dedicated church quartet singer, brought music into her life when she was young. Not only melodies, the harmonies she grew up hearing in church taught her about passion, story, and real feeling. She was music all the time, not just something she liked. Angie did more than just sing in church by the time she was 16. She was making history. She joined The Sequence, which was one of the first female rap groups. When guys were in charge, she and the other women in her group stood their ground. When they signed with Sugar Hill Records, it was a big deal. They worked in the studio with some of the biggest names in hip-hop. Funk You Up, their 1979 song, showed that women could also be in hip-hop. Angie, on the other hand, wasn't meant to stay in one field. As hip-hop grew, she changed with it. She worked with Mantronics and Vertical Hold to make a sound that was fuller, smoother, and more soulful. This change put her right into R&B, which was a good fit for her clear singing. Still, the work she did behind the scenes would prepare her for something even bigger. Since she worked closely with D'Angelo on his groundbreaking records Brown Sugar and Voodoo, she became more and more important in shaping the sound of neo-soul in the mid-1990s. It's clear that she had an impact. Her pen wrote songs that will last. Angie was made to be in the spotlight herself, not just to help other artists. That day finally came in 1999, when she released her first solo album, Black Diamond. There was more to it than just a record. Wish I Didn't Miss You and No More Rain in This Cloud went from being just hit songs to becoming themes. Her songs were about real things, not about what was popular at the time. She sang about life, love, and loss, and people felt every word. It was made by Angie. She had worked hard to get into the business and had shown over and over that she wasn't just a side character, she was tough. Success didn't shield her from heartbreak. Behind the music, Angie faced battles the world never saw, and some of them nearly broke her. Behind the songs and the fame, Angie Stone was fighting a battle that no one had ever seen. People liked her speech at work, but her personal life showed a different picture. It was full of pain, sacrifice, and problems she could never quite avoid. Getting better would be hard at first because of her health. In 1999, when her solo career was really taking off, she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Angie didn't want it to define her, but it was a heavy load. She instead made it a goal by using her position to teach others, raise awareness, and show that not even illness could silence her. But not every fight was one she could change. In 2015, a family fight made the news in the worst way possible. It was said that Angie hit her daughter with a metal stand during a fight. However, Angie and her daughter's argument got out of hand. The story was picked up by the media, which turned it into a scandal that instantly hurt her image. Fans used to think she was an untouchable R&B queen, but now they didn't. Angie kept moving forward the whole time. Still, she had been broken up with a lot of times before she became famous. She had 2 kids, one with D'Angelo, another famous neo-soul artist. Taking care of kids, relationships, and music was never easy, but being famous made it a lot harder. The stress of the business never stopped, but she raised loving children. She was a mother and a celebrity at the same time, so she was always on the road and in the studio. Some people thought that as her life was coming to an end, she was trying to make sense of her past. There are a lot of rumors that she wants to start over, forgive herself for her mistakes, and fix her relationships that have been broken. Was that really the reason she felt so rushed to get to Atlanta? Her struggles shaped her, but they didn't define her. Angie Stone's true legacy wasn't just in her battles, it was in what she left behind. Angie Stone was more than just an entertainer. It wasn't about following trends or making it to the top of the charts in her songs. It had to do with soul, story, and feeling. She helped form neo-soul by working with some of the most powerful voices in the genre, like Erykah Badu and Jill Scott. Following in her footsteps, artists thanked her for paving the way and inspiring them to be fearless in their voice. Her voice was clear, full, and well-worn. Every word and note seemed to be a story and a window into her soul. She had a timeless sound because she mixed R&B, church, and hip-hop. That being said, her impact went beyond music. Angie thought about how to repay a favor. She did more than just sing about people who were having a hard time. She worked to help them. Her goal when she started the Angel Stripes Foundation was to help poor areas, raise health awareness, and teach music. She made sure her influence went far beyond the stage, whether it was by helping causes that were important to her or by teaching up-and-coming artists what she knew. Even when she was going through personal problems, controversies, and failures, she never stopped making art. She didn't give up, showing that resilience wasn't just an idea for her. The world was shocked when Angie Stone died too soon. Still, the fact that so many issues are still open makes it much scarier. Even though the event itself was sad, many of her fans think the details of her last hours are wrong. Was it just a mistake, or was there more to it? The mystery of her last phone call is still open. Who was on the other end? What did she really say, though, is more important. A lot of people think she was trying to warn someone, while others just think it was a normal chat. Since there has been no public proof of the exact facts, more guesses are made. Did she mean to say goodbye? Was her stress clear? Instead, was she trying to teach the world something before it was too late? Then there's the crash itself. Is it possible to have stopped it? The van was in good shape. There have been endless arguments about the safety of the vehicle, the experience of the driver, and even the road they took. It looked like she was in a hurry to get Atlanta. Why? Some people think she was working on something important, maybe even her last comeback. A few days before she died, she talked about important work choices. Was she going to release new music? What was the thing she never got to say? If that's true, did someone else know about it? Then she said a few last things. She said, "I just hope I get one more chance." This is a basic claim that, looking back, seems very scary. She thought time was running out. Was she talking about her job? Or is it something much, much deeper? The world may never get all the answers, but the way fans, family, and the music industry reacted speaks volumes. When the word got out, the whole world stopped. She left Angie Stone. Social media was filled with shock, disbelief, and a huge number of honors. Fans talked about how her music had helped them through life's hardest times, times of happiness, and times of grief as they grew up with it. Some hung on to the songs she had left behind to find meaning in her words. Some people couldn't get rid of the feeling that the story was going in a different direction. A lot of famous people and other artists came together to honor her memory. A lot of great R&B artists like Erykah Badu and Jill Scott thanked Angie and said she opened the way. Even younger artists who had never met her felt sad about her death. She was a renowned teacher and an inspiration. A few days later, her folks said something. Heartbroken and grieving, they asked for privacy as they dealt with the unimaginable and thanked people for their love and support. They made it clear, though, that her influence would not end here. Already, plans were being made to continue the work she had started with her Angel Stripes Foundation. This way, her impact would still be felt in the places she cared about. The music business also began to talk about a tribute. There were rumors of a record, film, or documentary that would honor her life after she died. Angie had not only left music behind, but also a story that should be told. But one thing was for sure: Angie Stone's voice would never go away, no matter how many honors came in. Angie Stone's story doesn't end here. Her music, her legacy, and the mysteries remain. Like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives. And don't forget to click on the next video popping up on your screen now.